Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Kickster Rankings. So today we're going to be ranking my top 10 epic entrances in film. Now, to be clear about what this means, we're going to be ranking moments within films where an entrance by a particular character is incredibly epic and really ups the stakes of that moment. And this doesn't have to be a character's first scene within a film. It can be at any moment within the film, even if they've appeared previously. It just has to be a moment that is very epic in scale. We're going to start from 10 and work our way down to number 1, including some honorable mentions along the way. And so without further ado, let's get started. So in 10th place is Captain America's entrance in Avengers Infinity War. So to set the scene, you have Wanda and you have Vision, who are up against two of Thanos' minions. They're having a fight, and then Vision is wounded during that battle. And as Wanda's about to take them on again, herself versus the two of them, Cap shows up along with the Falcon and with Black Widow. It's an epic entrance because you see a figure there in the shadows as a train passes by, and then slowly but surely he walks forward and you see him emerge into the light, and then boom, that music hits you. It's an awesome moment. It's truly like gets you pumping and all of that. So yeah, I love that scene. It really helped raise the stakes in that film for me as it was going along. And yeah, so that scene with Captain America is number 10. In 9th place is Spider-Man's entrance to the final battle in SpiderMan III, starring Tobey Maguire. I know this film is very divisive. A lot of people dislike this film for a number of reasons, but that said, I don't think you cannot deny the epicness of his entrance to that end battle, particularly with the stakes so high and the situation so dire. You have, Sandman and you have Venom, who've got Mary Jane trapped up in a building and they're wreaking havoc. And then slowly but surely the crowd turns, they see a figure coming out in the distance, and it's Spider-Man, of course, swinging his way towards the battle. And then that music cues that awesome Danny Elfman theme. And then just to top it off, that little icing on the cake with him running in front of the American flag. Great little patriotic moment as well to throw into that. And it's just all sorts of epic as well. And despite what you think of that film, that moment in itself is really great to me, and I really love it. So yeah, Spider-Man's entrance in Spider-Man 3 is 9th place. In 8th place is Batman's entrance in The Dark Knight Rises. So it's actually quite a while into the film before he actually arrives. It's about the 45-minute mark, if I'm not mistaken. And the scene is set with basically Bane and his men escaping on motorbikes from the stock exchange that they've robbed. And they're being chased by the police, and the police are clearly not going to be able to catch them. They go into a tunnel and there's cars everywhere driving all over the place. And then the lights start to shut off. And so you first think, oh, what's going on here? And then slowly but surely you see a figure of a silhouette on a motorbike driving ahead, and then there's the quote from the policeman saying,
"Oh boy, you are in for a show tonight, son."
Really just builds that moment a little extra, even if it's a bit cheesy. Just a great little addition to that scene. And then finally, boom, he arrives. He stops one of the thugs from shooting an innocent man, and that's when you cue the Hans Zimmer theme. And it's a great moment. I love that build up and just that little bit of extra tension, and that just dragging out that moment from when the lights go out to when they finally reveal Batman is just a really nice moment. So yeah, Batman's entrance in The Dark Knight Rises in 8th place. In 7th place, this is going to be a kind of a controversial one because I don't think many people have this on their list, but the T-Rex's entrance in Jurassic World. I know a lot of people hate this film. I love this film. I'm a diehard Jurassic fan, but the entrance at the end of this film, the T-Rex is not really shown at all throughout the whole film. He's not the main dinosaur of that film, if you will. But then Claire comes there with the flare, lets him out of his paddock to take on the Indominus Rex, which is the big bad dinosaur of that film. So treating the T-Rex like the hero that she is, and just to let her fight against the other big bad dinosaur. So just the build up to that scene is incredible, with the tension, with the drums, and the moment, the silhouette of the T-Rex making its way out of its paddock till it's finally revealed with that roar. The music on top of that, the mix of the old school Jurassic theme along with the new theme. And then when she finally crashes through that Spinosaurus skeleton with that new Jurassic World theme blasting. That's an awesome moment. I'll never forget seeing that in the cinema for the first time. And it just really set up an awesome showdown for the end of the film. You know, say what you will about the rest of the film. I know people have their strong thoughts about it, but I love that end battle, even if it doesn't make too much sense. Just a lot of nostalgia there, and a lot of just a lot of epicness to that moment. So yeah, in 7th place is the T-Rex's entrance in Jurassic World. In 6th place is the arrival of the dead army at the Battle of the Pelennor Fields in The Return of the King. So we all know the moment. It's when the situation is most dire in the battle there, where it's really hanging in the balance. And then you have the ship that arrives that's meant to be carrying men from the south to assist the orcs. But indeed, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli jump from the ship. They charge at the orcs, and then comes the dead army along with them, and that basically ends the battle. It is an awesome, epic moment. Once again, you know, complemented by the music, that amazing score, the Fellowship score by Howard Shore. A fantastic moment. I know some people kind of feel it's a bit of a cop-out for the dead army to end that battle. It just feels a bit cheap. I feel a tiny bit of that myself, but I still love it nonetheless. And it's an incredible scene. And yeah, love that moment. So yeah, 6th place is the arrival of the dead army. So we're at the halfway point, and so in 5th place is Thor's arrival at the Battle of Wakanda. If you've seen the movie, we all know the moment. Epic moment. I mean, the good guys are just getting hammered by the bad guys, those creepy alien characters in Wakanda. You're talking about Cap, Black Panther, all of them are up against it completely. And then they think the situation is most dire. They're all, you know, fighting for their lives, barely getting by. And then all of a sudden you see that Bifrost, and then you see the axe swinging its way through, killing all those minions. And then Thor shows up along with Rocket and Groot, and cue that Avengers theme. I mean, epic moment. What a scene for him to come back to life, and like, at one moment, only moments before, you thought he was dead, almost dead, and then there he shows up like in full health and just as badass as ever. And then when he charges onto the armies with that lightning and his eyes lighting up, all of that, bring me Thanos. Awesomeness all around. Love that scene. And so yeah, I have that in 5th place. In 4th place is Gandalf's entrance at Helm's Deep in the Two Towers. To set the scene, basically none of the army is left of the good guys. They are completely up against the wall. They are completely breached by the Uruk-hai. All you have left is basically Theoden, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, and a few soldiers, and they decide to charge out on their horses right into the heart of the bad guys, just to have one last final stand to show that they were not going to go down without a fight. And that is an incredible moment in its own, just that charge through Helm's Deep with that music playing, the Rohan theme. But then on top of that, just as they're getting out of there, you see Aragorn look up on the hill, and you see the white horse, and you see the white wizard Gandalf, and he's there, and that music, oh my god, it's goosebumps. And then of course Éomer and the Rohirrim arrive behind him, and they charge down that hill. And that's just the visuals are phenomenal. The music is incredible. All of everything you can say about the moment is perfect. And just as they charge onto the Uruk ranks and just, you know, basically win the war from there. It's incredible stuff. Love that moment. And so I have Gandalf's arrival at Helm's Deep in 4th place. In 3rd place is the portal scene in Avengers Endgame. I'm sure most of you thought this is going to come up at some point on the list, and sure enough, I have it in 3rd place. I love this scene. What I think is really brilliant about it is that it kind of tricks you a bit for a moment, because obviously about 15 or so minutes before this scene is when Hulk snaps the gauntlet to bring everyone back, but you don't see anyone come back, but it is sort of hinted at. But you don't really get to even think about it for a second, because almost instantly after he snaps his fingers is when Thanos attacks them, and the Avengers, the surviving Avengers, are just there to just try and fight him, so to keep him from getting the gauntlet. So you're not even thinking about everyone else who has come back from that snap. You're just solely focused on the battle at hand between Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America against Thanos. So, and that has enough intensity of its own. You know, that's a great, awesome moment of its own. But so you're just not thinking about the greater things happening around them. And sure enough, you know, as the situation is most dire, Cap is there limping his way on his own against Thanos' entire army. And sure enough, you know, Sam communicates with him over his ear saying, on your left. Goosebumps. I mean, absolute goosebumps. I can't think of a scene, you know, for a long time that gave me as many goosebumps as that one did. Phenomenal stuff, you know, to see all of the Avengers and their armies arriving through the portals. This was what we had waited for 10 years. This scene where they finally all get together as one big army against another big army, and Cap finally gets to say the words, Avengers!
Assemble.
Yeah, perfect stuff. Love that scene. It's arguably the greatest moment in the MCU. Love it to death. And so yeah, I have the portal scene in third place. Only 2 to go, and so this one was really hard to decide which one I loved more here, but I had to go with the one that, you know, is epic, but not quite as epic as the one that's going to be in first place. But this one is epic based solely on the way that the scene is constructed, and that is the T-Rex's entrance in Jurassic Park. So I'm talking about the scene here where obviously the T-Rex breaks out of its enclosure, wreaking havoc on the 2 cars there with Alan Grant, Ian Malcolm, and so on. That whole scene is built up, you know, it takes 5-6 minutes of build up where you have the stomping, the feeling, the vibrations of the water, you have the fence falling down, the electricity going out, you have the sounds of the fence going backwards and forwards, you have all these things, you have the lamb being eaten, there's so many hints that builds up that moment rather than just showing the T-Rex emerging. There is so much build up that when she does finally emerge from that paddock, the CGI from 1993 is just out of this world. I mean, to this day, it holds up as well as anything you'll ever see. But just seeing that moment of it emerging from its paddock and the reactions from the other characters, it's phenomenal stuff, phenomenal. And one thing I have to note about the scene is that out of this whole list that I've mentioned so far, and including the next one that I'm going to talk about, this is the only one that's really not reliant on music whatsoever. You know, most epic moments in any film all rely on music to really give that extra emotion to the moment. This one, obviously, it's not an emotional moment because it's almost a terrifying moment, and to choose to just cut the music from that scene, it was brilliant. I mean, it just really brings you to that ground level and makes you feel like this is real, this is really happening, and this is terrifying stuff. So yeah, phenomenal scene. The T-Rex coming out, one of the best moments in Spielberg's directorial career. I love that film. Jurassic Park is my favorite film of all time, and that scene is my favorite scene within that film. So yeah, the T-Rex's entrance in Jurassic Park in second place. So before revealing my number 1 pick, I'm gonna have to give some honorable mentions to some particular scenes. So as I titled this video Epic Entrances, that's really to reference scenes that are very much taking place within a very epic or, you know, intense moment within a film where all the stakes are at play. Whereas these scenes here, these are incredible scenes that are just expertly directed and really set the tone for a film or whatnot, but they're not as epic in nature. They're just awesome entrances by a particular character that show a great performance by that character. And so examples of that is obviously the Joker's entrance at the beginning of The Dark Knight, that heist of the bank. It's phenomenal, like just that interplay between the other men in masks and how he's killing them each one by one who are working for him, and then that final reveal of his face at the end of that scene. Phenomenal stuff. I mean, and what an entrance. Well, what an entrance to a character who's going to just be the villain throughout the whole film. I mean, what a way to set the tone. Incredible stuff. And then on a more lighter note, you have an entrance like a Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. I mean, who can forget that scene of him, you know, standing at the top of the top part of a boat, where he's at the very top of that wooden log essentially, and then his boat starts to sink as he's making his way to the shore, and then it literally completely sinks underwater just as he like naturally steps off onto the deck. I mean, there's great comedy stuff in there, but just an awesome entrance overall too. And on top of that, I have to give some mentions obviously to Star Wars here. So you have obviously Darth Vader's entrance in A New Hope, the first Star Wars film. I mean, how iconic is that? I mean, all he does is walk through a door and just put his hands on his hips, but just that image of a man in a black suit is just, we've seen it so many times that it feels like it doesn't mean as much, but just thinking of that for the first time is an incredible scene. And then also I even love the entrance of the Emperor in Return of the Jedi, where he finally walks out of the shuttle onto the platform of the Star Destroyer to meet Darth Vader. That's a great entrance in itself, and that conversation they have, just you really get to feel the creepiness of him with that music as well accompanying it. awesome stuff. They're epic in their own way, but not epic in the sense or the context of this video. So yeah, I just wanted to give honorable mentions to those particular scenes. I love them equally, but just in a very different way. So in first place, a lot of you probably guessed this one. I did a whole Let Me Explain video talking about why I think this is the greatest scene of all time. And it happens to be an epic entrance scene. And of course, that scene is the ride of the Rohirrim in Return of the King. I mean, I could talk about the scene forever. There's just so much to unpack with the scene, but it really all starts with that horn that you hear when the Nazgul, the Witch King, is about to kill Gandalf and Pippin. Just as after he says the words, the world of men will fall, only to be accompanied then by a horn by the world of men. I mean, that is poetry just in a little moment of its own. But then, you know, once that horn settles down and you see those riders emerging on that hill with the light behind them, beautiful imagery. And then of course that Rohan theme starts to play, starts to build up, build and build and build. And then of course you have that epic speech by King Theoden rallying the troops before they charge onto like ultimately an unwinnable fight. Just incredible stuff all around. I'm not going to go into whole detail about it today. I'm just going to mention it as why it's my most favorite entrance of all time. But yeah, that pretty much just sums it up. It is the quintessential entrance that I think so many films and shows have tried to emulate since, but I've never been able to exceed it. It will always remain, I believe, the greatest entrance scene of all time. So there you have it. That's my top 10 rankings of epic entrances. And in first place, of course, is the Ride of the Rohirrim. I mean, these are all incredible scenes in their own regard. I love them all, but you know, there has to be a number one, and Ride of the Rohirrim is that to me. I'm sure a lot of other people agree. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts in the comment section below. I'd love to see your rankings of 10 through to 1. I want to see them all. If there's any I've missed, please let me know. I'm all ears for that. I'm sure there might be some that I did miss that were completely epic moments. Or maybe there's some that I've never seen before that you could highlight for me that I should definitely go and check out. So yeah, that's my top 10 rankings, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like if you did and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate that. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye.